Welcome to the East County Sports Report, brought to you by EastCountySports.com. My name is Jon Owens, and I'm joined by Ramon Scott and Dave Dickens. Now, between the two of you, you spent a lot of time covering East County sports. Ramon, you've been with EastCountySports.com since its inception, and you've covered sports here in the East County for 35 years.
Yeah, Dave's dad, Bill Dickens, was my mentor and basically my idol when I was a young kid, and just want to continue covering East County sports. I mean, it's a lifelong project.
Now, Dave, you were born into this business. Your dad, Bill Dickens, started EastCountySports.com with Ramon.
Yes.
And if you could, for our viewers who go to EastCountySports.com because they love the coverage that your dad and Ramon has done, can you give our viewers an update on how Bill's doing?
You know, they take it day by day. As far as his current condition, he's a little slow in the morning at times, but with his physical therapy, he's coming along. I think he will be in the next 6 months. I think he's going to come to, and I think he's going to be back with us, and hopefully we can pick his brain because he's the brain of the operation. I got to tell you.
Absolutely. Bill and Wanda, just two great people, and I've always been very appreciative of all their efforts here in the East County, covering the high schools and just making sports even more special out here in the East County. Now, the mission of the East County Sports Report really isn't to duplicate the awesome things you guys do on EastCountySports.com, but maybe to highlight some of those things, give you a little bit more highlights, a little bit more an inside look, if you will. So join us each week on the East County Sports Report, and just for a little something extra, but of course, for all the in-depth coverage, head on over to EastCountySports.com. Now, normally in the opening segment, we would be recapping something that happened last week, but this coming week is week one for high schools here in the East County. So you guys have been driving all around the East County, spending hours in your car, talking to coaches, talking to players, and so really just going to turn you guys loose on a preview of this upcoming season. Some of the highlights that you saw, and some of the kind of early season predictions that you may have in terms of program strength.
Sure, as non-league kicks off, I mean, you got to start with the Helix Highlanders. They're ranked number one in the county, practically number one in the state, and they got some of the best talent throughout the county. And I think that they're going to be the team to watch in the East County. Of course, I think everyone knows that. But other teams are rebuilding. We've got other teams that are champions trying to build. They've lost some players. They've got some nice juniors that are going to be seniors this year. Teams like Granite Hills, Santana, co-champs of the Valley League last year. Also, Grossmont. I mean, they've lost Hunter Gaines, but they're going to be still strong because they're Grossmont.
Yeah, and some of those schools like Grossmont, they've built a program. They have a solid offensive scheme that they can kind of not plug and play. I don't want to take any seniors that graduated out of giving them credit, but you have new players coming in, and because of those schemes, they're able to do well.
Yeah, and of course we can't be forgetting about Valhalla. I mean, their defense is as good as there is, maybe outside of Helix in the East County, and they're going to be putting up a lot of wins, probably some shutouts in the early going, and they're going to be right there in contention in the Open Division as well.
Of course, for more in-depth looks at all these schools as they prepare for the opener, you can head on over to EastCountySports.com. Now we go into another segment. It's really one of my favorite things about EastCountySports.com. It has been for years. I love watching athletes go to EastCountySports.com, and that is to see those predictions. Now I know it's not easy to make these predictions, and over the years you guys have done really, really well. But on this show as well, we're going to force you guys to make some predictions on video. And at least for my taste, I would like to kind of keep track of how well you guys do over the course of the year, and maybe I can give you a hard time if you had a bad week or not. But I will tell you, before you guys give your predictions for the week, if we miss your school, if we didn't give your prediction, once again, head on over to EastCountySports.com. Full game previews right there, and of course, those famed predictions. So who wants to get started?
Well, John, I just want to say in the spirit of the Fearless Forecaster, which is really, as if we all know, Dave's dad, Bill Dickens, all of our picks are going to be made in the spirit of the Fearless Forecaster. And you'll see in the Fearless Forecaster from here forward, we're going to refer to the Fearless Forecaster as if he's still making the calls. I think Dave and I have enough experience with him and one another to pretty much come up with exactly what Bill would pick. So even if we're picking an upset here and there, sometimes Bill always picked against a team to try to fire him up to win that big game.
Well, I can tell you this. he was eerily so accurate so many times. I coached football here in the East County, and I remember just being like, there's no way. And then we go out, and I'm like, wow, are you kidding? That was so close.
Well, we talk about, Bill's condition right now, but just leading up to this season, I believe last season was his best win-loss percentage in the history of picking, and that goes back to his years at the Daily Californian. I mean, that's over 40 years. So
what's your picks, guys? What are you going to break it down here?
Well, I'm going to start with one of the bigger games in my favorite. I'm a little biased just because they're my alum. Granite Hills traveling to San Pasqual. They've already won the first two matchups, including a playoff game. The Eagles are led by 4 of them. There's 2 on defense, 2 on the offense. As far as returners, the Eagles gunslinger, Jacob Siegfried, and then Tyler Gonzalez on the defense, and also William Burton, who's also been picked, by the way, for the Blue-Gray at AT&T.
Wow, that's a pretty big honor. Absolutely.
So what I'm looking for Granite Hills just to trounce San Pasqual for a third straight, 35-14.
Okay, bold prediction.
yeah, I mean, they've had to replace some people, but they still have Jake, and I think Jake is the man. Granite Hills beat them twice last year, once in the preseason and that playoff game. I like the Eagles by 10. I'm sorry, I like the Granite Hills Eagles, not the San Pasqual Golden Eagles. Granite by 10.
So do you got a featured game or anything else on that?
Well, Dave, I want
fancy
Dave to
piece of paper?
lead into it. He's got
Okay.
some great notes.
Okay.
Yeah, and then next we're going to go with Mount McGill against the Morris Tigers. Mount McGill, Sean McDade, he's got them starting 4 home games, 4 in a row. Mount McGill should be the favorite. Mount McGill running back Shamar Green, East County's leading rusher, returning rusher this year. And he'll lead the way for Coach McDade's sharp, start fast, and keep your foot on the throttle offense. However, I think Morris is going to outlast them 31-28.
Okay, so you're picking Mount Miguel 31, or sorry, Morris over Mount Miguel 31.
Sure, I mean, Martell Irby, Tim Patrick, Morse has some great weapons. Shamar Green is a great backer. We're going to see a lot from him this year. And don't sleep on Mount Miguel quarterback Miller. He's a really smart kid, and you're going to be so surprised with him calling the reads out. Got to go with Morris. I'm going to say Morse by 6. It might be more. Let's go Morse by 6.
All right, well, maybe those Matadors will prove you both wrong.
Let's hope so.
And then we'll go over to the Santia area. Actually, they're playing at Castle Park this year. Santana won 42-0 at Castle Park last year. 5 touchdowns by quarterback Josh Odewalt. However, quarterback has a whole new line, so they got a lot of youth on the line. However, as we were talking earlier, Josh, and more Josh.
No doubt about it. I mean, it's going to be Josh's show because they really didn't return anybody with one other player on offense, and they lost about half their defense. Josh really doesn't get his just due, I think, heading into the regular season. We put him on East County first team last year. We thought he deserved it, along with Baker and Gaines, because of just his sheer numbers. I mean, it's one of the most productive years in county history, really, maybe top 25 or 30 offensive production years. So they're going to replace a lot, but I think Santana and, a great coaching situation up there with Estes and Noble. Let's take Santana probably on this one by 8.
Okay.
And I'm going to go 35-31 over Castle Park. I'm going to hand this one entirely over to Ramon about the Orange Nation here at home.
Yeah, well, hey, we don't have, like I already said, we don't have to go anywhere but on the defense for Valhalla. That's where they start and that's where they finish. I mean, they lost some big guys from last year's team, and they were rolling shutouts left and right out here in southeastern El Cajon. But they're going to still be good. I think Coach Bussey's got it going on here, and no doubt about it. And they drugged Scripps Ranch last year, so they're going to get off to another big start. I mean, I wrote down 3 touchdowns. It might be more. Let's go Valhalla by 21.
Now, a little plug for the Orange Nation. You can watch Scripps Ranch and Valhalla at 7 o'clock on OrangeNationTV.com. Full HD broadcast. The student production at Valhalla High School putting that on. So if you can't get out to a game, you can stay on your couch and watch it on OrangeNationTV.com. So, guys, any more predictions? I don't want to shut you off.
I don't want to touch on the Madison El Cap. That's just too tough of one. I don't even understand why that's on the schedule. That's a rough one. I mean, Madison is one of the best in the county. That one, I'm looking for a 35-7, and I'm hoping that El Cap pulls 7 out. But I would like to go over to the West Hills versus Southwest. The West Hills Wolfpack last year, heartbreaking by a field goal, last-minute field goal, and sending that place home with their tail between their legs. I mean, it was awful. But the Pack's going to prevail this year, 21-17.
It was a heartbreaking loss out in the desert for them last year. This year, West Hills, their JV tied Helix for first place last year in league. So even though West Hills has lost some guys, I mean, they've got a good young nucleus coming up as well. They lost their starting quarterback. He transferred out, but watch for Jordan Young. He's the quarterback at West Hills now. And maybe this is the way things supposed to work out at West Hills. They got a new weight room this year, brand new blue turf. Hey, West Hills in this one by 2 touchdowns.
Tell you what, that blue turf is impressive. Absolutely.
Smurf Field.
Absolutely. All right, so is that it, guys?
Oh, and then the last one we just wanted to touch on real quick is Christian heading into Utah. Going over to Utah, that's an interesting one. And as Ramon and I were talking earlier, he couldn't find any information on them ever making a trip to Utah.
Or out of the state at all, for that matter. But I think Brad Jeremiah, Bryce Reipel, Connor Mosier comes over from Valhalla. Also, Jesse Matthews, he looked great against Mount McGill in that STFNL game. I'm going Christian by 7, out of state, on the road in Utah.
All right. And did you guys drive to Utah to do a little scouting? Or? No?
Well, Dave had the information on that team from Utah winning their season opener quite handily. I mean, they are ranked pretty high, I believe, in the Utah state rankings. But this Christian team, I mean, we pretty much all agree they are a real tough program right now, and things are always rolling in the right direction.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how close you guys are to those scores and how many of those you predict. Once again, if you didn't hear your team, you can head on over to eastcountysports.com, read those full breakdowns, full predictions, I should say, and see exactly how you guys at least think those teams will fare. In our last segment each week, we're going to turn things over to a coach, Huran Hutchinson, who's coached a great deal here in the East County. He's offensive coordinator for Valhalla for a long time, Steel Canyon. He's just flat out coached a lot of kids here in the East County. Now, this week, he's not breaking down X's and O's. He's actually talking to you, the parents, you, the fans, and what you can do to provide a little bit more positive atmosphere. How do you talk to a coach if your kid's not playing? How do you handle yourself in the stands when things don't go your way? So, Coach Hutch, take it over.
All right, I'd like to promote a segment, Under the Lights. Want to give you an in-depth look at high school sports from a teacher, a coach, and a fan's perspective, because I fit in all of those categories. The topic I'd like to talk about this week is relationships in the football field, mainly between the parents and students, parents and coaches and players. Friday nights are exciting times. Football games are awesome. All games are starting this week. Would like to remind everyone who comes out to the games, whether you're going to Valhalla or Steel Canyon or Granite Hills or Grossmont, please be positive with all of your comments during the game. Makes for a better environment for the fans, makes for a great environment for the coaches, and it also makes for a wonderful environment for the players, because all feedback is heard and all of it matters. One of the reasons I want to bring this up is I spent 25 years as a high school football coach here in the East County, 17 at Valhalla, another 8 at Steel Canyon High School. And all of my years as a high school football coach, I've been yelled at tons of times by parents in the stands. And as coaches, we're typically thick-skinned, and it doesn't affect us. I do want to talk about the relationships, though, between those fans and the coaches, because when I get yelled at, or when I got yelled at by parents during the game, didn't affect me. But for my wife and my kids in the stands, it was a whole different thing. And I don't know that people, when they give that input, understand that all of us, whether we're coaches or parents or teachers, we all hear that feedback, and not every time you have the appropriate venue to respond. Parents have an ability to sway how their players understand the game. They have an ability to sway how their players, their children, respond to their coaches. I spent tons of years having to not only coach kids to understand the game, but I also had to coach against the parents who wanted to have negative things to say about me, as well as others. And again, whether you're here at Valhalla High School or you're at Steel Canyon High School, you're at Grossmont High School, all of those coaches understand the game, and they understand that they're going to get criticized, but it's really hard to fight through the noise when you're trying to get the players operate on the highest level. I would like to have suggestions. If you have an issue with a coach about your player, make an appointment with the coach. Yelling at a coach during a game or catching them right after the game is not the right time to talk about your player not getting enough snaps, or not the right time to talk about the coach not throwing the ball enough or running the ball enough. And it's definitely never the right time to talk about another player to a coach. My kid's better than that kid. There are good and positive ways to be able to handle these conversations. The best way, make an appointment with your coach and sit down and actually have a one-on-one conversation. If your problem or your complaint doesn't get dealt with properly at that point, make an appointment with the athletic director. There are people whose jobs there are to respond to you and make you feel better as a parent. And again, I'm not telling you how to parent your kid. I'm just trying to get people to understand what gets yelled out in the stands at the games, with the players here on the field, with the coaches here on the field, doesn't just die on Friday night.
All right, guys, one is done. We're going to get better each week, so hopefully you enjoyed what you saw, but it's only going to get better as soon as we get more B-roll, we get some reporters out there, and we're just going to keep taking it to a new level each week. So any closing thoughts on your minds, guys?
You know, I think this can only grow from here, and I think what it all comes down to is this is all about the players and the fans, the parents.
Well, I'm going to touch on just one more game real quick because they're a top team in the county, and that's my school, the Helix Highlanders. Isaac Taylor Stewart, he is one of the most recruited players in the entire nation right now, and one of the fastest players in the nation. Coming out of the opening, he ran one of the fastest times there and won the fastest player award. And get this, John, he might be the first player in East County history to have a blue check mark by his name on Twitter.
Well, wow, that's impressive. And if you know about Twitter, you can tweet to us as well. So if you have a suggestion for a future show, tweet to us. You can look right there and let us know. Is there a specific coach or a team or a player you'd like us to focus on for a future show? And I'll tell you what, great bonus coverage right there on Helix, of course. They're the champs until somebody knocks them off, and we'll see how well the Highlanders do. Once again, for more in-depth coverage of East County sports, head to eastcountysports.com. We'll see you next week on another East County Sports Report.